Life on Maui gratefully acknowledges the following sponsors for helping to make this show possible. Hunton Conrad and Associates, an architectural firm dedicated to creating inspiring homes and gardens. Sheila Rada Conrad with Life Mastery Skills, who has been doing transformational work on Maui for 35 years with individuals, couples, families, and businesses. And Key Moments Video Memoirs, creating personal documentaries for the significant events in your life or to tell your life story. Mahalo to these fine sponsors. Welcome to Life on Maui. My name is Stephen Freid. My guest for today is Sheila Rada Conrad. 35 years ago, she put a 1-inch ad in the Maui News and within a few months took over a doctor's practice. When you first came to Maui, no one even knew what Gestalt is. What is Gestalt?
Gestalt is actually an approach that was originally created by Dr. Fritz Perls. He was a student of Freud, and out of his frustration that psychoanalysis could only take a person so far, his frustration within himself to allow people to resolve their unfinished issues, which he saw from his practice and Dr. Freud's practice, was actually the basis of people's suffering, motivated him to create what he called, it's a German word, Gestalt, and it means the whole thing. It means the foreground and the background.
So that one word, Gestalt, means all of that, the foreground and the background.
In other words, it's a moment. So in every moment there is a foreground and there is a background. And he realized, as he worked with people, that most people's suffering arose from unfinished gestalts or moments from their early childhood, and created a way by having people be in the present moment, and that's very important in Gestalt, to be in the present moment, to be in your body, to understand what your body is doing and saying, not just how your mouth is speaking, but the whole person. That for a person to really resolve their issues and come to a state of resolution and peace, you need to have a closed gestalt. In other words, think of it as a circle. If there's any part of the circle missing, they cannot cause resolution. In order to have complete resolution, the entire circle must be complete.
So the importance here is being in the moment.
Yes.
So in Gestalt, what do you use as a therapist to help bring someone into the moment? What does that?
Well, the first thing and the simplest thing is to ask someone, what are you aware of right now? And I might do an exercise with someone that asks them to say what they're aware of, whether it's in their environment, in other words, what their senses are picking up from outside themselves. That doesn't exclude what's going on inside themselves. So if they feel, let's say, tension in their stomach, and at the same time they're describing what's going on around them, but they're not discussing what's going on inside of them, then there's a certain kind of avoidance that's going on. So to be fully present, to be in the moment, which is actually the only alive moment, the only moment where anything can actually change and transform.
All the great ones say that.
And most modern psychology is based on Gestalt therapy. Fritz Perls was the father of Gestalt therapy, and every one of the therapies that came from, that we think of as modern day therapy, actually came from Gestalt therapy.
So speaking of that, you lived in San Francisco before you came here.
Yes.
With two friends, and you met a man named Sid Gershenson.
Yes.
who was extremely influential and important in your life. He said that you're a natural at doing Gestalt, and he said something like Fritz Perls would love you.
Yes.
So tell me about this relationship with Sid Gershenson. And I know he put you in an accelerated program that's usually for PhDs.
Yes. Normally, as a Gestalt trainer, the San Francisco Gestalt Institute, he also was the president of the International Gestalt Community. When one day my roommates who were going to see him said, Sid Gershenson would like to meet you. I said, okay. So I made an appointment. I went to his house, and I sat down, and he asked me if I knew what Gestalt therapy was. And I said, no, I'd never heard of it.
How old are you at this point?
I'm 30 years old. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, I'd like you to know that you're doing it with your roommates. And
he just saw that, he observed your interactions, is that how?
He did not observe my interactions, but what happened was that one was a man and one was a woman, and we were sharing this flat together in San Francisco. And they would discuss different things that came up. And apparently in their discussion, part of what came up was when they would talk to me, how I would interact with them. And they each, on their own, they didn't know the other was discussing it. So on their own, individually, they were discussing this with him. So he asked to meet me. And he asked me if I realized that I was doing Gestalt therapy with both of my roommates. And I said, no, what is it? And then he began to explain to me what I was doing and asked me if I would like to earn a living at it. And I had just been recently divorced and I really didn't have a way of earning a living. And I said, I would definitely like to earn a living at it, but I don't have the degrees. And he said to me, my normal students are people who have MDs and PhDs, and then they come for Gestalt training. And I'm telling you that I could train you in a 3-month intensive program where you could go out and work with people, because before you begin, you already are doing it. You just don't know what it is you're doing. And so I will teach you what it is you're doing that works, because you're just already doing it.
What's your background before this? I mean, what did you go to school for?
I actually was a philosophy major. I went to UCLA, and I have always been interested in philosophy. And
Any specific kind? Or all kinds, or?
Well, I would say Thoreau was one of my champions. And so I would say existentialism. Mm-hmm. And Thoreau, because when I was about, 13 years old, I had a homeroom teacher that used to put one-line sayings on the board. And the saying that she put on the board was Thoreau's, and it said, build your castles in the air. That's where they belong. Now, put a foundation under them. And actually, that's how I work with people. It's not enough to wish things were different. The question is, what are you willing to do in order to make your dreams come true?